He looked like an easy target, just another old man enjoying the park. But sometimes, the quietest people hide the deepest power. A flash of metal, a cocky smirk, and a choice was made that would change everything. The teenager thought he saw weakness, but he was about to meet a legend. Arthur spent most mornings in the park, a man in his late 60s. His movements were slow, each step a careful negotiation with his aging knees. He wore a faded cap and an old, comfortable jacket. To passers-by, he was just another grandfather, perhaps a bit frail, enjoying the sun. Locals knew him as Mr. Arthur, a kind soul with a gentle nod and a soft smile, rarely speaking more than a few words. They saw his slightly hunched back, his calloused but seemingly weak hands, and assumed a life of quiet retirement. Most believed he was simply counting down his days, perhaps reliving old, forgotten memories. They certainly didn't notice his watchful eyes, which missed nothing. They didn't see the subtle way he scanned his surroundings, a habit ingrained decades ago. They never saw the steel hidden beneath his gentle exterior. The teenagers who often hung around the park entrance, bored and looking for trouble, had been watching Arthur for days. They'd observed his routine, the small wallet he carried, and his seemingly defenseless posture. "Easy pickings," whispered Leo, the bolder of the two, to his friend Sam, who nervously clutched his phone, ready to record. They figured he'd barely put up a fight, probably wouldn't even remember the incident by tomorrow. Just a quick score, a laugh for their social media, and they'd be gone. They thought he was weak, a relic, completely out of touch. Arthur, however, had seen more trouble in his life than they could ever imagine. Arthur reached for a pawn. In a flash, Leo moved, silent and quick, pulling a glinting knife from his pocket. "Wallet, old man. Now!" he hissed, pressing the cold steel lightly against Arthur's side. Arthur did not flinch. His eyes, though aged, sharpened in an instant. In a fluid motion that seemed impossible for a man his age, Arthur's hand shot out, not at the knife itself, but directly at Leo's wrist. There was no hesitation, no wasted movement, a subtle twist, a sudden shift in weight, and before Leo could even make a sound, he was on his back. The knife clattered uselessly across the pavement, far from his reach. His arm was twisted behind him in a grip that was firm but not brutal, precise but utterly unyielding. Sam, ready to film a pathetic surrender, froze. His phone remained clutched in his hand, his mouth hanging open in disbelief. His easy target was now effortlessly controlling his friend. Arthur knelt beside Leo, his voice calm, almost conversational, yet carrying an undeniable authority that made the teenager shiver. "Always check the hands, son. And the eyes. Never assume." Leo whimpered, the shock overriding his earlier bravado. "What? Who are you?" People nearby, drawn by the sudden sharp sound of the knife hitting the ground and Leo's quiet gasp, stopped. They stared in disbelief. An old man, who just moments ago appeared frail, was now completely in charge of a much younger, armed attacker. The sight was unreal, defying every expectation. Arthur's grip remained steady, his posture controlled, a silent testament to years of practiced, devastating efficiency. His control was absolute, a mastery that spoke volumes without a single shouted word. Police sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder with each second. Arthur, hearing their approach, instantly released Leo, standing calmly with his hands open at his sides, a clear gesture of non-aggression. Two officers arrived, their initial expressions a mix of confusion and caution as they assessed the scene, a shaken teenager rubbing his wrist and a composed, elderly man. "Reports of an assault on a minor," one officer stated, his hand resting near his duty belt. "He tried to rob me," Arthur explained, his voice level and steady. "I merely controlled the situation until help arrived." But Sam, seeing an opportunity to control the narrative, quickly stepped forward, his phone still gripped in his trembling hand. He played the video, a carefully edited clip showing only Arthur's takedown, meticulously cutting out Leo's initial aggressive move and the flash of the knife. He just flipped him, slammed him right onto the concrete. My friend was just asking for directions, Sam cried, his voice cracking with what sounded like genuine terror. Arthur attempted to explain the full context, to detail the attempted robbery, but the officers, faced with a visibly distressed teen and a seemingly compelling, though manipulated video, seemed unsure who to believe. Let's sort this out at the station, they decided, guiding both Arthur and the teenagers to separate squad cars. News of the incident spread like wildfire through the quiet town. Did you hear? That quiet old guy, Mr. Arthur, attacked some kid at the park. Who would have thought he had it in him? People whispered in coffee shops and grocery aisles, their perceptions of Arthur quickly shifting from gentle to dangerous. He found himself labeled a threat, a rogue individual, someone who had seemingly snapped. The video, stripped of its crucial opening moments, went viral online, quickly accumulating millions of views. The comment sections filled with jokes about Kung Fu Grandpa and Boomer Bruiser, alongside serious calls for his arrest, labeling him a thug in flannel and a menace in disguise. No one sought context. No one knew Arthur's true history or character. For days, Arthur endured the whispers, the suspicious glances, and the online attacks. He continued his simple routine, but the once peaceful park no longer felt welcoming. Even Jenny, the diner waitress who'd served his coffee for years, seemed hesitant, avoiding eye contact as she placed his mug. Arthur sat alone, his mind drifting back to different times, different harsh lessons he'd taught in far-off, dustier places. He was a ghost in his own life, a true hero misjudged and condemned. Then, one quiet afternoon, a sleek black SUV with official-looking plates pulled up. A man stepped out, tall and imposing, with the unmistakable posture of a military leader. 3 stars glinted on his lapel. It was Brigadier General Thompson. He walked directly to Arthur's booth. "Sergeant Major Arthur Vance?" he asked, his voice resonating with an undeniable authority. Arthur slowly rose, his spine straightening instinctively despite his age. "Yes, sir." The general saluted Arthur. "You taught me everything I know, Sergeant Major. You saved my life in Kandahar." "I saw the video circulating online. So did the Chief of Staff." General Thompson's voice grew firmer, echoing. "This man built warriors for 3 decades. He trained the trainers. And you let a manipulated video tear him down for social media clicks?" The general laid a polished wooden box on the table. A lifetime commendation for service, signed by the highest military authorities. "The full, unedited footage has been recovered and released," he announced, gesturing slightly to another officer who stood nearby. Public opinion shifted instantly. Interviews with former Commandos began to surface, speaking of Sergeant Major Vance's legendary skills, quiet professionalism, and unwavering dedication. The same online platforms that had condemned him now celebrated him as the quiet soldier.